Okay, before you start watching this video, take a minute to read the problem. So pause the video, read the problem, and see if you can solve some of these parts on your own, and then continue. Okay, so hopefully you did. Part 1 said find the total revenue, which we call R of X, and they give us the hint. The hint is that the revenue is going to be the quantity times the price. The quantity in this problem is going to be the letter X. It represents how many stereos you're making, and new stereos basically. So for revenue, we're going to be multiplying X by the price, and the price is given by the formula 100 minus X. So the revenue function is going to be 100X basically minus X squared. So for now, this is going to be the answer, and we're not doing anything with it right this instant. So that's the end of part 1. Part 2 said find the total profit. So the profit is what we call revenue minus the costs. So the revenue was 100x minus x squared. That was the revenue function. We're going to take away the cost function. What was the cost in this problem? The cost turned out to be 300 plus 2x. We're going to put those numbers right here. And notice how I put parentheses around everything, because my minus has to go to the 300 and to the 2x. And the cost was, given, but the revenue, I had to get that myself in part 1. So, that's the reason why we did that first. Okay, so subtracting both things, we get 100x minus x squared minus 300 minus 2x. And let me organize it with x squared first, and then plus 98x, because there are like terms. And then the 300 doesn't have any friends, so we're just going to put it at the very end. So this is what we call the profit, and typically speaking in economics is called P of X. Okay, so now part 3 said how many units must the company produce in order to maximize the profit. So the word maximize reminds me that I'm looking for the maximum profit. So I'm looking for the maximum profit, which means I need to go to the profit equation, find the derivative, the critical numbers, and all that stuff. So my profit equation was way down here. We're going to grab that. So the profit equation is negative x squared plus 98x minus 300. And we need to know the derivative. What's the derivative? And once we have the derivative, we're going to look for the critical numbers. So derivative of x squared is going to be negative 2x because of the minus already there, and then 98x becomes 98, and then 300 goes away. So what makes the p prime equal to 0? This happens when the negative 2x plus 98 equals 0. So this typically, we solve it by putting the 2x by itself and then the 8 on the other side, and we divide by 2. So this is going to be, I believe, 49. Okay, so let's test out if this is actually going to be a maximum or a minimum. Okay, so the profit is going to be tested over here. 49 is the number. Now remember, you're making the stereo, so you can make, theoretically speaking, as many stereos as you want, but you cannot make less than 0 stereos. So 0 is the intro. 49 is the critical number that we got for this problem, and now the question is it going to be a maximum or a minimum? So let's test it out by picking a number before and a number after. Okay, put them into the derivative, So 1 turns out to give us a positive amount, and 100 gives us a negative amount. So that means the profit is going to go up, and then the profit is going to go down after 49. So that means 49 is going to have a maximum. X equal to 49 has a max. And as a matter of fact, it's the only max and the only min in the problem. There's no mins actually. So this is going to be the absolute maximum. Okay. So basically, you get the most benefit from making 49 stereos. If you make more, it's going to cost you more, your labor is going to be higher, the raw materials are going to be higher, and that doesn't make sense for you. You're going to end up losing money if you make more than 49 stereos. So 49 is the magic number in this problem. So finally, what's the maximum profit? So if you made 49 stereos, what would be the profit? So let's investigate by putting 49, which is your critical number, into the profit equation. So we're going to put 49 into the profit equation. Okay, so profit is right there. So this is going to look like negative 49 squared plus 98 times the 49 minus the 300. So I'm putting 49 into the profit because that was my maximizing value. Okay, and I'm putting in the profit, not the profit prime, because the profit gives me the amount in dollars. So putting this in a calculator, what do I get? Let's see. So I'm getting $2,101. So this is the amount in dollars of how much profit you're gonna make if you made 49 stereos. So maybe it's a small operation that you're running or something. Okay. All right. And finally, what's the price per unit so that we can get this maximum profit? Remember, the price was 1,000 minus X. So 1,000 minus X. So the price per unit, let me do this again, price per unit is gonna be 1,000 minus the X, and the X in this problem was 49. So 1,000 minus 49 is gonna be, let me find out, 1,000 minus 49 is $951. So you have to charge basically $951 for every stereo that you make, and if you sold 49 stereos, you're gonna get the maximum amount of money that goes into your pocket. The maximum amount of money that goes into your pocket is gonna be $2,101. And why are we just only making $2,101? Because remember, you're having to pay labor, you're having to pay a huge amount of costs. So the costs here in this problems are given by 300 plus 2x. So if you do the math and everything else, this is what you end up having to do.